Okay, let's get into the questions. This is Draco, how were the pyramids built? The pyramids were built from top down. This is one of the answers that you will hear, right? And it's a mystery, right? It's a riddle. How were the pyramids built top down? Because normally, when you build something, right, you would what? Lay the foundation and then you build up. So, how were the pyramids built top down? As above, so below. It's a riddle, right? I'm going to answer it. Just giving you a bit of time to kind of like think about it. How were the pyramids built from top down? The simple answer is the pyramids were built by Africans. But who are these Africans? The Africans with the smartest brains. And let me give you the answer to the riddle. When we say it was built top down, anything you want to build, anything you want to do in this world, what do you have to first of all do? Think it. From the top of your head, the mind, right? You have to think about it and then you go about manifesting it in the physical, right? So they were built top down from the mind first. However, the Africans, the original people on the planet, their roots or the ancestors, they come from other planets, okay? The planet or constellations where these planets are in are known as Orion or Sirius. So those ancestors would be referred to as extraterrestrials. And the children are also extraterrestrials because you're only composed of the components of the beings you come from. Hence the term God making man in his image and after his likeness. You see, you can't be having, say, 46 chromosomes, right? Which you get 23 from your mother and 23 from your father, giving you the 46. Now, the beings that where you come from will also be the same, because you can't have a frog giving birth to a human, or you can't take dust off the ground and create a human. So the descendants, when we say descendants, you can look at it as coming from those people, and you can also look at descendant as beings descending down here from what people would term heaven. You find these names like Oranos in the Greek, okay? Oranos in the Greek is really referring to Orion, from the constellation of Orion, the one that you see with the belt, the three belts, the three stars which form the belt of Orion, and then Sirius also. So those extraterrestrials from there came down here, had offspring, and taught the offspring how to build, right? This is where the whole thing about Masonry, because Masons or Masonry is about building. Building not only physically, but the building blocks of life. Meaning, when you go to the essence of where we come from or what we're composed of, you're dealing with the building blocks of life, such as, you know, the minute atoms, etc. Because we can go to what you would call the etheric world, which wasn't known to many, but it's becoming more and more known as we delve and go more into the unseen world, which is now becoming very much the seen world. So going back prior to hydrogen, going to the ether one, E1, E2, E3 to 9 levels of ether, 9 ether, right? So we're talking about the building blocks from that side into the physical blocks as well. The building of building things with the mind mentally. So they assisted their children because of the advances in technology that they have or possess, right? So they were using technologies such as 3D printing, which is now becoming common. They were using things like levitation, right? The science of levitation, the ability to move huge mass or huge stones by literally levitating them and moving them to the right place. They were very highly advanced in mathematics, right? I mean, when you study mathematics, maths as we call it here, there are different levels to maths. And as a very basic prerequisite, when you are in school, what do they say? You should have at least English and maths. Why? Because really, you need to be able to read and you need to be able to count. And if you have nothing else, those two skills are going to help you navigate the world, because there are signs everywhere, right? You need to know what symbols and signs mean. You need to read them. You need to know how to add up, right? You buy something, you exchange currency. If you don't know how to add up, how are you going to know you're getting the right change? And for those that want you to be workers in their system, to work for them, all right, that's all they need you to be able to do, to read, follow instructions, and to add up. So you collect the correct money and you give out the right change. Now that's all you need, because look, all these books, all you need is to be able to read. And when you break down the word read, you see R-E, add, re-add, or re-add, to do something over again. So the more you read, investigate, research, you get the information. So they were very advanced in maths. So there's basic maths and there's supreme mathematics. Mathematics that were used to build the pyramids have baffled many scientists and Europeans for years, because they're trying to figure out, how do we know that it was the ancestors of the Africans with their technology and help, such as 3D printers, levitation, the ability to use laser cutting stones. And when people say, oh, they were built by extraterrestrials or aliens, and people say, no, they weren't, they were built by humans. But then they say, okay, break it down. How did humans, with their weight, their mass, carry such huge stones weighing 300, 400 tons? How? How is it that the pyramids were situated on the exact center of the planet Earth? And this is prior to the continental drifts and the different continents moving away. How is it that they're aligned to the, the magnetic, the different ley lines and energy grids of the planet? How is it that they align to the Orion star constellation and the belt of Orion, the three major pyramids in Giza? That's what I'm talking about. At first, they didn't understand, because the first two were aligned diagonally, and then the last one was off slightly, and they couldn't work it out. It took years before they realized, oh, it matches with the belt of Orion. So when you hear people say the aliens built them, yeah, we are those aliens, and our ancestors are those that use supreme mathematics. As I said, when you start to look at, there's just so much, there's so many books written about the pyramids, who built them, how they were built, what were they used for. They were used for many things. They were used to charge extraterrestrial crafts when crafts came here, because they don't use the same type of fuel that we use. They don't use fossil fuels. They use something called tachyon energy, which emits from the top of the pyramid, right? Known as standard columnar waves. They would hover their crafts over those pyramids and get recharged. They were used as schools, as initiating temples and so on. That taught, many people came to Egypt to be taught under these beings, which Tahuti is one of those beings that is known throughout ages for writing a lot of the information and scribing. You always see him on the walls of Egypt with the beak, right? That's symbolic of the pen or the quill, which is used. You see him always holding it and writing, because he's the recorder and the one that came up with a lot of formulas and a lot of information. And then everybody went to Egypt to study and learn from him, where you get Moses, for example, who went to study under Tahuti, and you get everyone, the Greeks, the Romans, name them, everybody, the Europeans, they went to Egypt to learn. All the characters in the Bible went to Egypt. No coincidence, you know. So you had Joseph and his family got to Egypt. He became rich in Egypt. You know, Moses went to Egypt. He was supposedly drawn from the basket, you know, in Egypt, and was found, and, you know, he was brought up in Egypt. Your Jesus character went to Egypt when Herod was trying to kill all the male-born children, and they ran to Egypt. Anyone who's of any prominence went to Egypt, because the Egyptians had all the secrets, they had all the knowledge, they were able to deal with famine. When other people were starving, they all ran to Egypt. But yet, in the Bible, they tried to turn the Egyptians to be the bad guys, because they don't want you to connect with who you really are as a Nagaru or Negroid, because then you will realize that you are the children of these gods that had all this knowledge and built the pyramids and had supreme mathematics and so on and so forth. So what they do is they play the game of telling you that the Israelites are the good guys and the Egyptians are the bad guys. And they give you all that story about Moses being able to throw his staff down and turn it into a snake. But the Egyptians already knew that science, the science of alchemy, and they did it too. And then they will say, oh, but Moses' snakes ate the Egyptian snakes. But that's not the point. The point is, how did they have the knowledge to do the same magic trick? But yeah, I'm giving you a lot, but the pyramids were built also as above, below. They go down as well. So when you look at today, they're telling you that they're using technology to find out that the pyramids are not just above the surface of the earth, but below as well. And you know, they had so many uses. They were used for many, many things. And we have a scroll that's available called The Science of the Pyramids, you know, where the master teacher, Partner Babyanun, was the first person to break down the science of the pyramid in such great detail. And today, so many people trying to follow him. You know, we always say, give respect where respect is due. We don't mind other people coming out with information, just like a lot of the information we share, and there's more to come. He's always going to be ahead, because he's a being, the reincarnation of that same being, Tahuti, who knows and has so much information, because he's not from here. He's a visitor. And that's why he's able to give you more information and continuously keep taking you further and further in your elevation. No one else can follow. You see, they can take you so far, but when you start going into those hard questions, where are you taking us? Where are we going? How are you going to get there? It's actually funny when people try to, you know, compare themselves to him, because in order to open portals and gateways to travel out of here, you need to have 3 tones in one. And these are sciences that people don't even know. He has actually demonstrated this many times, because there are gatekeepers. You know, certain beings like Ankh Aten, who people call Akhenaten, was one of those types of beings, having the double resonance or double frequency, you see. So there are things you need to know, the keys, how to get from one place to the other. They're showing you now the, what they're calling the meteorite core 3-eye atlas. And when they're showing you, they show you debris because you're dealing with many meteorites and many things. Like planets are on the orbit, they're rotating, and it can take hundreds of years for a planet to rotate, or a planetary body to rotate. So you have to understand how the trajectory that you're traveling is going to shift and move. It's not as easy as just going in a straight line. And you have to know how to do this. So nobody else on the planet comes and claims to say they can take you from here to another galaxy. Nobody can dare to claim that, but he's been saying this from the get-go. So yeah, the pyramids are very, very important because there are portals as well. Yeah, but I'm giving you quite a bit of information there. So I hope that helps with Draco. Let's keep going. Rahubat, Slider Rider. Ashuk, Musa, Ashuk. Divine love to you too, my brother. It may be a Zamaltat, so Ashuk to you, either Zamal or Zamaltat. If a mix, I'm just reading the questions, yeah, as they are. If a mixed breed of 9 ether and Adamites crosses over, how do the ancestors deal with that type of situation as far as coexistence with each other? If I'm getting the question right, you're saying if somebody is mixed, the mixture, right, determines who they are. So if they're mixed with 9 ether, their highest part is 9 ether, so they will have 9 ether. So it negates the other side. So 9 ether is 9 ether. You see, so when you say how do the ancestors deal with that type of situation, I'm not understanding what the situation is, because if a Nagaru or a 9 ether being mixes with an Adamite, the result is going to be the highest one. You're dealing with the dominant genes. You have to understand that it's about genetics, and the dominant genes is going to be the Nagaru or the 9 ether. So therefore, they're 9 ether. Or if you're looking at it as 9, when we say 9 ether, there are different types of ethers. So in terms of, you have hair types where you get 6 ether, 7 ether, 8 ether, and 9 ether. But ethers can go all the way down from, let's say, from 1 to 9 when you're dealing with other than just the hair, just dealing with ethers in general. We have a scroll, a master secret called physical ethers, the physical ethers that you should read, because even though we break it down to simplify it for people to understand, as in numbers, as in 1 to 9, and you can look at those like stratas, right? But however, each one is got variations, or we like to say density, in terms of, the different layers. So 9 would be like not just 9, it's 9 to the 9 power of 9. You follow? So it all depends on where you are on that scale of ethers, if you're dealing with that, the physical composition of a being. All right. Oh, okay, yeah. Let me check the TikTok. Okay, no questions I can see on TikTok yet. Let me go to the top. Who said men can't multitask? Okay. Yeah, I don't see any questions. Is that the Malachi York? Hit that like. Yeah, when you say is that the Malachi York, if you're referring to the picture behind me, yes, I am a student teacher of the master teacher, Dr. Malachi York, His Honorable Excellency. So yes. Okay, let me see if any more questions. Rahubat. Saken. Okay. Someone was just mentioning about the questions. Baba mentioned not to work under the system and try finding your own way of income. 100%. That's from Lapa, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Yeah, that's right. That's all we're supposed to be doing is, but at the same time, Baba is very practical and it's like, that should be your end goal. So don't do anything drastic that's going to put your family, you know, in a compromising position. So you should be working your way, have a plan to do for self and to work with others, so that you can, yeah, buy from each other and sell to everyone else. Do you think selling drugs and Wu-Sabat mix? Absolutely not, but it depends on what you're calling drugs. Because the pharmaceutical industry, they sell drugs. So, yeah, you'd have to be a bit more specific about what you mean by drugs. But no, we don't sell any or do any illegal activities. We are, you know, we respect the law of the land we're in. All right. Okay, let me just keep going. Look, a lot of people are not up to date with the latest information from Pana Babylon. So if you need to be up to date, get scrolls like the 33 Commandments of the Sabians, get books like The Bridge to Salvation, books like The Nine, get scrolls, All the Master Secrets, Actual Facts, and the Partaruk, right? These are the hereafter doctrine. And when people hear the hereafter doctrine, it's important to know what we mean by that. Hereafter meaning hereafter the year 2000, when the 6,000 years of the Adamites has expired and all the religious books, all the books that dealt with religion have expired, including the Holy Tablets. The Holy Tablets was the best version of whatever they were trying to convey to you in religion. But religion is dead. Religion is dead. Wu-Sabat killed it. And so we don't just say that frivolously. We're saying, one, all the people, the characters, everyone in those religious books are dead. There's no one alive, right? So it's not changing. It's not constant. Anything that's alive changes, and change is constant. That's how you know you're alive, right? And Wu-Sabat is the replacement. Wu-Sabat is what everybody was waiting for and has been waiting for, and it's here now. So in the 60s, it was okay for you to be under the spell of religion because you didn't really have Wu-Sabat to the level that you have now. Even though the master tried and started introducing it when he started teaching in 1962, 63. But what happened is many people were not ready for it. They were still under the mindset and the spell of religion. So when he was trying to teach us Wu-Sabat, yeah, which is about you as a supreme being, who you really are and where you come from. Ironically, right, he was breaking down you having the barothry gland, right? Today, I mean, you'll do us a favor, use that word barothry and search it on Google, Barathary, barothry gland, right? He was teaching that in the 60s and everybody was not ready for that. Now today everyone's saying, oh, the Anunnaki, they came and they maimed us and they made us into slaves and that's why we're dumbed down. With, okay, but he was teaching you're maimed down because you no longer have that barothry gland. And now if you get it replaced, that will give you back those higher powers that you had when you were amongst what they refer to in the Bible, in the Quran as the Elohim, the Aliyat, right? You were able to be like them because you had clairvoyance, intuition, psychometry, and telepathy. These are your four higher senses that you no longer have. I mean, you have them, but you don't have full control of them. It's more random now because you no longer have the full gland. The remnants of it will remain when it was removed. And then that through what we call epigenetics, all right, got passed down over generations. but it is something that is still able to be reactivated or reinserted in the submental area, because you can't reinsert it in the original place. And you have today people like Elon Musk with his neural network, or his company called Neuro something. We can pull it up. He's trying to insert chips into people so they can have the ability to basically become cyborgs, where they're now connected to AI, yeah, and that will give you abilities to do, use more power of your mind. So what I'm saying to you is that the master teacher has been teaching about the barothry gland, and is it coincidence that now everybody's talking about how extraterrestrials came and they maimed us and made us to not know who we are, and we're being controlled by them, etc., etc. So that's to give you a little bit more about who the master teacher is. Okay. All right. So that's TikTok. I'm going to put it right here so I can keep checking. So you all keep asking your questions on TikTok as well as on YouTube. All right. Let's go back to YouTube. Rahubat. How can I, this is from Official Mora TV. Rahubat, how can I align my purpose? Oh yeah, I didn't finish what I was saying about religion being dead, right? So the 60s, he couldn't go into Wu-Sabat, so he started to teach us religion. And he answered every question about religion that anybody would step up to him and ask. So 70s, 80s, 90s, a lot of people were waking up through right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding. So to a certain degree, we can kind of accommodate you from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. But after 2000, you really can't still be under the spell of religion, because religion is dead. Go to the mosque, go to the churches. They're losing numbers because right knowledge is here. Wu-Sabat is here. So in 2025, if you're still under the spell of religion, we need to get you out of that quick. And that's what we do with OSM Vision. Ask us anything. 360 questions for each religion. And those questions were just basically to let you know, religion is dead. So, but the good thing is, when you die, it's the beginning. You wake up in Wu-Sabat, just like the Matrix, the movie. You took the pill to unplug from it, then you were born into the real world. So you can see things as they really are, you see. So your eyes are open. You're no longer under this illusion and being governed by trick knowledge, right? Technology. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to finish that point about religion is dead. And really, people that are still asking questions, it's all right if you just need to get things straight in your head so that you can, undo the myth, just to kind of get your mind straight from the damages of, the beliefs and the things that you've been taught that are not real, so that you can actually become more of an adult, more responsible. You have to put away childish toys. It's good to learn about, these stories of Father Christmas and, fairies and all of that when you're young. It sounds nice, Father Christmas is going to come through the chimney and give you presents, and he has reindeers and he lives in the North Pole and all of that. It sounds nice as a child. Your imagination is like, wow. But as you get older, you start asking more responsible questions, like, if we don't have a chimney in our house, Mum and Dad, how is Father Christmas going to come? Do you know what I mean? Like, you go into the detail and then you find out, oh, it's your dad or your grandpa or somebody that was playing a character of Father Christmas. I'm sorry if I've spoiled it for those adults that still believe in Father Christmas. But I'm just saying, the older you get, you mature, you graduate from kindergarten. So you have to really start using your own mind and asking serious questions about your life, who you are, who you really are, what's your purpose, where are you going, how do you get there, who's going to help you to get there, what do you have to do? You see, that's why we're here, OSM Vision, because our souls matter. Ask us anything. All right, let's go back to the questions. Official Mora TV, Rahubat, How can I align with my purpose so I don't lose my soul and waste my time and life on earth? Imagine that. I was just talking about that. It's such in sync with that. Especially not knowing if this is my 24th or 24,000th time back here. Great question. Wu-Sabat, come into the family, come home, make your way to supping with the master teacher, connect with him. You can connect with him on a spiritual level, you can connect with him physically. All you have to do is know what to do. That's why we say come into the stores, come into the communities, become a part, because you have many people, many are called, but only few are chosen. You're chosen when you actually practice and put what you're being taught into action. It's not about gassing and pretending, and be yourself. Because a lot of people, everybody wants to be the winner, innit? Imagine, right? When you start anything, you can go to university, first term and enrollment day, you have lots of people, everyone is excited. But as time goes on, you start to get more challenges, right? You have to submit work, assignments, dissertations. As you're getting close to the end, it gets harder, more demanding. And this is where you're tested in terms of your resilience, your character. Are you somebody that gives up easily, or are you going to rise to the occasion and bring the best out of yourself, your potential? These are all the things that, it's not just going to college because you might be the smartest person, but you don't have any discipline, you don't turn up for classes, you don't do the work, you don't study. And when it comes to the end, those that may not have been as smart as you, who have just diligently studied, put in the work, revised, well prepared for the exam, are going to get through. And those who didn't, regardless of how smart they are, they couldn't manage their time properly, they don't make it. It's like running a race, especially a long distance race. 100 meters, at the beginning, everyone's ready. Boom, let's go. You don't really remember after the first, second, and third, maybe fourth, because they go gold, silver, platinum, and then bronze. After that, the rest of the people are not even remembered. So what I'm saying is, at the start of the race, everyone wants to be the winner. Everybody wants to get the degree and graduate. But can you put in the work and put in the effort? And do you know what I mean? What's that? It's the turtle and the what's that? And the hare, yeah. It's that same thing. Like, just because you're fast doesn't mean you're going to make it, because you have to, a long distance run is you have to breathe, you have to time yourself. And as the laps go on and on and on, you start to see people fall back. And it's only those who endure to the end. That's why it says those who endure to the end, they will receive the crown of life. You see, that's what you're doing. So when you say, how can I align with my purpose? You will find out your purpose by studying the scrolls, by putting into practice what you're studying, by being yourself. Like you say, there are things you do so that you can keep your soul safe, the things you eat, the places you go, the people you're interacting with. Like you say, yeah, time is one of those things that everybody has the same amount of hours in the day, right? But not to waste your time is to learn, right? How to use your 24-inch gauge, meaning you have 24 hours in the day, as they say, but we know you have 12 hours in the day and 12 hours in what they call night. So you have 24 hours, but someone can be very productive and use 2 hours and achieve more than somebody who has the whole 8 hours in the day and don't do anything with it. So it's about discipline, because you have people that trade or whatever and they work for 2 hours and they make more money than people that trade their time for money in a month. So you have to be smart. So you're right. Some people, they will get up. It happens to the best of us. You just go on your phone as you wake up, and then what? Social media, TikTok, and all the Instagram and whatever. And like, before you know it, they've stolen 2 hours of your time just scrolling with snippets of sometimes you get useful content, but most of the time you can waste your time and your life doing things that don't bring you any, you know what I mean, any real purpose. So yeah, the way you do it is to learn and study about who you are and why you're here. And part of that purpose is to help free the master teacher. We all have a collective purpose to change the frequency of this planet from disagreeable to what we call agreeable, right? So to transform it, because the reality that we see is what we create with a collective mindset, or your individual reality is based on what you're creating by way of your mind's eye. So really, the collective purpose is everyone on the planet who wants to see the planet survive and a better planet. There are actually different dimensions coexisting. So you can see people, but not everyone is on the vibration or the same dimension. Because if your mind is being spent in the higher dimensions mentally, then you're thinking higher thoughts, and those thoughts you bring down to achieving and manifesting things in this physical world that will help you succeed and progress. That's why we stress to read the mind scroll, you know, and your potential. These two scrolls go hand in hand, and that just gets your mind and gets you to realize about your hidden potential. And then from there, obviously, we got 1,000 other books, and these are like medicine or tablets that will help you raise your vibration, your consciousness, etc., etc. Oh, thanks, Life is a Blessing. You guys were greatly missed last week. Yeah, we know, we're back. We missed you too. All right, let's keep going. Supreme Tat Raye, Rahubat Saken, Rahubat Zamal Tat, good to have you on board. I hope you guys have hit that like button. If you haven't done so, please. It takes a moment and it's free and it helps us. And you want to help us, right? Because we know there are over like 70% of you listening and watching our content, but you haven't subscribed. You know, just help us, subscribe. Okay, every little helps. Okay, let's go on to Maria's question. Can my ancestors, let me see TikTok, how you're doing. All right, I'm gonna come to your questions in a minute. Can my ancestors help my friend if I ask them to? Example, my friend is in an abusive domestic situation, but not in the frame of mind to focus her mind at the current moment. Yes, you can. But honestly, she can help herself too. And that's what your challenge is to get her mind. Remember, we just mentioned the mind scroll. In fact, you know, you can buy her that scroll and just ask her to read it. It will help her, because it would help her to take control of her mind and to make the right decisions. But yes, have you not heard when people are, you know, in a serious situation, and people, they do like prayer vigils, and a lot of people get together and pray for these people. What that is when we say pray, we're dealing with channeling energy, right? So you can direct and channel energy to people to heal them. And if it's, remember, it's a communication, and if it's received and it's powerful enough, it can definitely help. Now, her help is going to be best from her ancestors. That's why I'm saying get her, you help her to help herself. But at the same time, yes, we can focus and chant and send positivity and positive energy. And one of the hidden secrets is the green light, right? It's a healing light. And that's why if you look on the picture, you see the green light or the aura around the master teacher. And anything that is healthy, if you look at vegetation, if you look at the trees, you look at nature, it's green because it's a vibration, it's a frequency. So you can actually tap into that green light energy and channel it to heal yourself as well as to others, because light can be transformed into sound and sound can be transformed into light. It's all energy and frequency. This is why some people have the power or the ability to heal people. And you find out that healers are normally very warm people because they have that light from their solar plexus as well as pulling in that green light energy and can heal people. You also have, like we always say, there's always the adverse to anything. So you also have people that channel the negative light, which we know as the amber light, or that's really more of a fire, yeah? And there's different types of fires, how fires have different colors. But they also, like when you go to these churches and mosques and synagogues and people that are workers of iniquity, you see them saying they're healing people and so forth. And what's happening is the disagreeable entities or disagreeable beings that utilize their vessel will heal one or two people to convince people to bring hundreds and thousands of people to become the legions, right? If you Google the word legion, you know, if you go to the Bible, I mean, we always use Blue Letter Bible, but you can use any online Bible. Go to Blue Letter Bible, just search for the word legion, Legion, right? And you will find the quotes that come up, right? You find Mark 5:9, and he asked him, what is thy name? And he answered, saying, my name is Legion, for we are many, right? That's why the word religion, if you look at that, you just add R-E to the beginning of legion, you get religion, right? And these legions, and look at Mark 5:15 as well, and they come to Jesus and see him that was possessed with the devil and had the legion sitting and clothed and his right mind, and they were afraid. Luke 8:30, and Jesus asked him, saying, what is thy name? And he said, Legion, because many devils were entered into him. So what I'm saying to you is, there are beings that use the other side, the amber light, and the devil's children. They use sorcery and they use other forms of divination to actually fool people into thinking that they're being healed. King, I think I've moved the chat to the other one, if you can help me with that. In the meantime, let me just have a look at TikTok and see if there are any questions on there. Blessings from, this is from Supreme. Tawa. Blessings from, it's just jumped.
There's no question on TikTok.
Yeah, but I saw someone was saying blessings from somewhere that I've never heard of. I was just like, wow. Free Dr. York, Paleo Amorukan, absolutely 100%. He's coming home. So like, prepare yourself, be ready, help us. That's what we need right now. Because people ask, how is he? When is he coming home? What's going on? But we need help. You know, like I said, action speaks louder than words. So there are people that, as I said, they start off with the race, but then they get the information and they think they've got it and that's it. But there's more to come, or they leave, or they don't follow through, or they make promises to themselves that they don't keep. So help, Free Dr. York. You know, go to the website, UnitedSabiansWorldwide.com, search how can I help. You can give a free will offering by way of a donation, no matter how big or small, to the acts of kindness at outlook.com. All right, that will be posted in the chat. But like I said, you can just go on the website and search how can I help. Okay, let's keep going. I was answering, so you can help your friend by channeling positive green light energy If you don't know how to do that, there's a scroll by the master teacher called The Science of Healing. Okay? Again, if you can get hold of that, you'll be able to know how to draw that green light energy to heal yourself as well as others. Maria again, oh, can my ancestors contact her ancestors and ask them to help her? Yeah, it's all about communication, but you've got to know how to contact your ancestors and do it in the proper way. But yes, of course, they can help. That's why they're on the other side, to help us and help you. All right? Life is a blessing. Rita Rahubat, life is a blessing. Is everyone able to see beings from other, I think you meant to say planets, but you said plants. Or is it a special ability to be able to? It's well, when you say special ability, everyone has the potential and you can develop yourself, right? Like there are people who see auras. They can look at you and see that electromagnetic field around you, right? And your aura changes by way of your thoughts and your intentions and, you know, your health and things like that. So there are people who can personify beings in different dimensions. This is what we call clairvoyance. You know, when you say clairvoyance, we say that, like I mentioned before, that you have the ability to get your barythry gland reinserted, which will give you those 4 higher senses that we refer to as intuition, telepathy, psychometry, and clairvoyance. So clairvoyance really, if you hear the words, is clear vision, right? The ability to see interdimensionally. So when you're looking at things, there are things that are here that are vibrating on higher frequencies. So you can't manifest them unless you're able to also vibrate to that frequency. So the things we see, these are dense or more on a lower vibration, you see, because it gets slower. As it moves to the other direction, going upwards, it's faster. So this is why we say things like spiritual practices, fasting, cleansing, not allowing your body, right, to be subdued under these things like fluoride, because fluoride is part of the method to calcify your pineal gland and to block you from utilizing the higher being in you. Like your pituitary gland works with your pineal gland, and these what people call chakras, they actually are part of how you tap into the other essence of you, right? So yes, you can raise your vibration to be able to see interdimensionally, which we call clairvoyance. And you can also utilize psychometry, the ability to object read, right? So you can touch an object, look at an object, and pick energy and pick up information from it. Telepathy, the ability to communicate telepathically, or making a telephone to the Pataites, right? Because before the telephone was invented, beings had the ability to communicate mind to mind, and you can communicate mind to mind within time, matter, and space. See, so you can communicate, like you were saying, with beings on the other side of the world. So yes, by these practices that you're taught by way of Wu-Sabat and some of the higher orders, some of those orders were like the ancient mystic order of Melchizedek, right? Known as Amon, which actually evolved into the ancient Egyptian order. And within these, you were taught the higher mysteries. Yeah, in Egypt, people that went and were given some information. I'm talking about the Greeks, like your Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, all these beings, they were taught the lesser mysteries. These lesser mysteries is what became your Bibles and your Qurans and the dogmas of religion. But the deeper meaning, the higher mysteries, were taught to only those students who showed that they were really worthy, and they were then taught and given high information, like the science of levitation, the science of alchemy. There are many sciences that were taught to them, and then, obviously they were responsible enough not to misuse that power. So yes, you have the ability to be able to personify beings from other planets. And that's one of the tricks they use. Like, people that actually see crafts or see beings, it's because they will change their vibration or their frequency momentarily to be seen. And then the next minute, they're gone because they've just moved to a higher vibration. And they operate on all of these realms and all these dimensions and can affect you if you are not aware or protected as well in terms of your energy field. All right. Kimberly, Gundar, nice. So nice to see you, Saken. Thank you. We're glad to be back. We miss you guys and we love to share, Wu-Sabat with the world. So thank you. Simon, Stern, Rahubat. Life is a blessing. Why is it that some people seem to attract mentally ill people? Well, it could be a number of things. Because you have certain gifts and certain power, you may be able to help them. You see, it's like some people have empathy. Some people can relate. Some people can see your vibration, your frequency. And when you say mentally, obviously that's very broad, mentally ill, because to be honest, the majority of people are mentally ill. And excuse me, they're mentally ill, but they don't know they're mentally ill. What do we mean? Because your mental is as simple as having a government name, right? Because government is govern the mental. Like, if you're following wrong information that is being given to you, or someone else is governing your mind or your mental, telling you to do things that don't make sense by way of religions or whatever, right? They're actually controlling your mind because you're running a program. Most people are like, it's like computers or, devices where you put software into it. We call it apps. And whatever app you're running or whatever program you're running is how you behave. So when we say mentally ill, first of all, we have to define what is it, why we're saying somebody's mentally ill. Obviously, there are different levels. And what Wu-Sabat does is help you make sure that your mind is sound, right? What Wu-Sabat does is help you to have a clean body, in a spiritual, being a clean body in a clean environment with a spiritual, a healthy spirit, and a pure soul, and these come by way of you putting in practice what we're being taught by the being that has been sent to guide us and to teach us and to raise us in degrees to become supreme beings, to use our minds. And like they tell you that you have, in terms of your DNA, yeah, most are taught by the scientists today that you're using 24% of your DNA, and the other 76% is referred to as junk DNA, right? It's only referred to as junk DNA to those who don't know how to use it. But those of us who do, we know that there's information encoded in that 76%. So yes, you can learn how to be a supreme being, be able to use more of your brain, and so that you're able to use the right knowledge, becoming right wisdom, right, to the right understanding, which leads you to sound right reasoning. See, reasoning is a higher level of thinking, because thinking you do anyway. It's kind of like it's like you have voluntary and involuntary actions. Okay, let me explain that for those who don't know. An involuntary action is something you do, whether you like it or not. Like as you're sitting down, you know, your heart is pumping blood around your body, or you're going to blink, you know, at intervals. You're going to, you know, you're going to do things which are out of your control. Voluntary actions are the ones that you do intentionally. Yeah. Right. So when I lost my trend of thought for a moment. I may, you know, when that happens, sometimes it's because you're not supposed to get that information just yet. But yeah, so you can elevate yourself, transform yourself to use more of your brain and to be able to behave and act more as a supreme being. And so you can do more of these things. Oh yeah, that was it. It was relating to why is it that some people seem to attract mentally ill people. So it may be that you in a past life may have also been someone that suffered from mental illness. But the point I was making about the mind and how you learn is so that when you have a sound mind, you're not going to be mentally ill. Most people are, because of the information and the programs that they're running, which is what they've been taught all their life, and some of that is based on belief. And to believe something doesn't mean it's true. You know, you hear the word lie in the word belief. So, you know, some people will attract the vibration or the energy that they resonate with, and you have to also reprogram your reality. Now, you don't go on to say if you mind it or not mind it, because some people are attracted to people because those people may be able to help them. It's like if you watch a movie called Ghost Town. It shows you about someone who was attracting all these entities that crossed over, but they were unalived, but they hadn't crossed over, so they were still around, and in order to cross over, they had to complete their purpose or fulfill a particular, pass a message on, and he was able to help them because he was attracting all of these people, but he didn't know why. But again, I don't want to be a spoiler for the movie, so you can watch it yourself. Okay. Bruce Kanois, Rahubat Zamal, Tawat for everything you guys do. Akfush, Muklas Nun Atom Reye Akfush, Mufdad Nun An Hu Khawun Khafush. Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. Without you, we wouldn't be here. You know, all we are vessels. You know, we're being utilized by Pa Salafu as well as Pa Nabab Yanun to spread the word, spread the knowledge of Wu-Sabat, and we're happy to do that. And you're right, it's about his freedom, and he ain't never gonna stop until Pops is free. So the more of you help, the quicker and sooner that will happen. Okay, Maria, I have read a little. When I review OSM videos, my depth of understanding is very different. Much more is understood as though it's the first time I watch them. I strongly recommend reading the scrolls. Absolutely. That's what we say, like on OSM Vision and the lives, even in the classes, obviously we want to address as many questions as possible. So, you know, we do like quick firing, we give you the answers, but the in-depth, it's in the scrolls. And because we've read the scrolls ourselves, we can jump around from referencing different scrolls. But really, you know, we only have a few hours in classes and when we do the live. So you hear us all the time saying you have to read the scrolls, because the scrolls it's a one-to-one communication between you and partner Babyanun, right? And we say this all the time, and people don't maybe take it as seriously as we say it. 10 people can read the same scroll and get a different message, because the magic, the miracle is in his pen. And it's so miraculous that it's code that can be purposely designed for you when you're at that vibration or that frequency when you're reading it. So you will see and pick up something different from another person that is reading that scroll at a particular time and vibrating on a particular frequency. It's like saying, when you have stress and worries on your mind and you read something, you may be reading it, but it's not really resonating as the next time you read it when you're in a different mood and you read it and you're really into it, you're gonna get a different message. So it's designed purposely for different people. And someone can read it and go, I don't see what's heavy or deep about this. Someone else will read the scroll and be like, wow, DNA explosions. This scroll is heavy. They'll go on and on about it. And other people will say, yeah, I read that scroll and wow. Yeah, because it's having an effect on you in real time. So when we say the miracles in the scroll, read the scrolls. And then when you watch the videos, because people will ask questions sometimes without the backdrop of the scroll to overstand, you know, and go into detail. So yeah, that's a great comment that you made, Maria. Kimberly, Baba in my native language also means father. Is the Baba you use when referring to the master teacher Nuwapi? I just find that interesting. Yeah, in fact, you're right. It is father, and the level of that question, how deep that is this. When people call the deities, or in what they call the Bible, Quran, religious books, the father, they don't realize who they're really talking about. And yes, because Nuwapi, Miss Batia, Sabbatic is the original language, you will find that all other languages have their roots in Mispatia, which is why certain words are used in those languages. It's just like even English, right? People don't know that English is really not a language, it's a dialect, and it's composed of words from other dialects, or what people call other languages, being German, French, you know, Yiddish. So when you look up a word, when you're studying, you look at they call it a dictionary, but it's really a definitionary because it defines words, right? It's not diction. So anyway, when you look up a word, it will tell you in the old French, in the old English, it will give you all these etymology origins. So it's important that when you're reading in English, that one word can have up to more than, I think it's like 500 minimum, or even 5,000 meanings, which is why it's confusion, because you can say something and the person receiving it has to figure out what do you mean by that word, because that word can mean so many different things. So a lot of times people are confused, where you have to say, do you understand? Like, what do you mean, do I understand? No, I overstand. But, you know, that's going into the language of English, and how it's actually one of the problems, because it's not very good in terms of the vibration and the tones. But yes, you will find people that speak, say, Arabic, or what they call Hebrew, or any of the Semitic languages, will say, oh, you know, we have this word in our language. We say, yeah, because your language, so-called language, comes from the root language. And why, when we say that the master can speak so many languages is because once you understand the fundamentals of how languages work in terms of their structure, you know, the vowels and the way that it's put together, it's easy to go to another language and see the similarities and be able to pick it up very easily. All right, so that's a great question. So Baba is the father. We refer to him as, you know, but he's also known by many titles. Yeah, so Baba is, yeah, the father and the master teacher. Cool. Next question. Oh, let's have a look at TikTok. Anything?
Some people just arguing.
Yeah, we ain't got time for arguments. We actually got a part of that called the argument. And I think all those arguing, you need to just get that and read it, and you won't need to argue, because what are you really arguing about? Because everybody wants to be right, but there's only one right. If there's only one right, there's nothing to argue about. But it's how do you get to the bottom of who is right and who is wrong? How can you be right about something you don't know about? You see, so religions and these books, they create arguments, and you're arguing about things that you don't know about, which is ironic. So it's like, why argue? Just, it's competition. Everybody wants to be right. But if you're all saying, for example, you all follow one person, and that person gave a message to all of you at the same time, how does it get to be confusing? Chinese whispers, because somebody says something else other than what the message was, and then it passed on from generation to generation, and before you know it, it just gets watered down, translated from different languages, and before you know it, people are confused and lost, and they're just fighting and arguing and babbling amongst each other. All right, let's keep going with right knowledge and right wisdom. Who's next? Azen Maxwell, thoughts on Stephen Greer? Yeah, we don't. Oh, hopeful hibiscus, Rahubat from Barbados, Rahubat. No, we don't really just. That's what I'm saying. That's what creates opinions when you say thoughts on people. Like, we're here to answer questions about Wu-Sabat and Supreme Tatreye Sahen affirmation. Yeah, Rahubat, great, good affirmation. Tua. Brusca noise. I was wondering, Saken, is there any point in starting a family if the planet will be destroyed in 2032? If one has a child now, they will be 7 years old by 2032. How it saddens me. Brusca, we've never said that the planet will be destroyed in 2032. Parts of the planet will be destroyed. Parts of the planets are destroyed all the time, every day. Tsunamis, earthquakes, tornadoes, accidents, you know. So we didn't teach that the planet will be destroyed in 2032. Go on the news right now. You will hear, Google it, yeah? And again, I want to ask our loyal followers, listeners, watchers, like, you can help us, because we have put out so much information, and we spoke about this meteorite hitting the planet so far before everybody else started talking about Three-Eye Atlas, right? That it's all over the news right now. And if you can remember, or you see any of the videos that we put out, because obviously there's some people that told me they watch our channel religiously, like on rotation every day on the live. So you might come across the videos where we were talking about, you know, what's going on in Gaza, what's going to happen, and, you know what I mean, with Donald Trump and certain things that we've mentioned about the meteorite, etc. But yeah, we're talking about there's been many catastrophes, disasters on this planet for millions and millions of years. Some of them are more detrimental than others. You know, people will tell you that the extinction of the dinosaurs, or the floods, the many floods that are spoken about in your religious books, all the way from Genesis to the Noah flood to the the drowning of, animals and the starting over again. And this is something that has occurred many, many times. And this is just one of those times where it's going to happen. Unfortunately, for those who don't know what to do or where to be, and if they happen to, you watch movies, they show you this. If you watch Armageddon, if you watch The Fifth Element, there's so many movies that talk about some kind of meteorite or something hitting the planet. And when that does, depending on the size, the impact, that's another movie, Deep Impact, all right? Watch these movies, because what we teach, other people teach as well. And it's just that we teach it first, to the point where, like I said, if you go back and read the Holy Tablets and read books that the Master Teacher put out many, many years ago, he's talked about the earth being destroyed in certain parts, right? So we're not saying the whole planet is going to be destroyed in 2032. We're saying this meteorite will hit and certain places will have a big impact. But the point is, how big the impact? How much will it affect you? Where are you going to be? And how are you going to be guided and protected from what's coming? Have you been preparing? And even forget the meteorite, there's already talk of wars. You see, nuclear weapons, threats of nuclear weapons with the wars that are going on in, Ukraine, Russia and Ukraine, the Palestinians and Israel and Palestine and Gaza, and all that's going on right now. So we are living in a time where, things can escalate. Yeah, so I just wanted to correct you on that. We just teach how, and one of the quotes the Master said was that as long as children are still being born, there is hope. But there are times when it wouldn't make sense, because you have a lot of disagreeable entities or beings that possess or take, the vessel of the beings that are being born. And so it all depends on who you are, where you are, what you're doing. Do you have protection and the rituals around that, and how that child is going to be brought up? The children are the future, and some of those children are the ones that are going to save the adults, you see. So yeah, we're not saying that. You never know what that child's purpose or why they're coming. But I know what you mean by it saddens you, because it's like, who wants to bring up a child in an environment or in a world that, it's not peaceful and, dealing with love and unity and all of that. So, but yeah, we didn't say that the whole planet will be destroyed in 2032. Draco, yeah, you gave me a lot. Thanks for such a complete answer, Saken. No problems, Amal. The Molt Network. How is it going, fam? I haven't been on here in a long time. We're here. We're doing the works. And we need help. We need everyone to share the knowledge, share the information, share the channel, like the videos, subscribe. All of this is helping us to reach more people. All right, let's keep going. Azen Maxwell. Rahobat, this is on TikTok. Okay, no problem. He's just saying thank you. Wu-Sabat is not a religious cult. We don't fall under Christianity, Islam. But that's right, James. Yeah, we keep telling people.
James.
Who's that?
It's a cat.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so someone said it's at James. That's right. Yeah, Wu-Sabat is not a religion. Like I said, religion is dead. We're alive. Wu-Sabat is alive. It's constantly evolving, constantly teaching you new things. It's going to keep teaching you new things. No one else gives you new information. They just regurgitate old information. And if they're good, they will regurgitate our information that the Master Teacher put out many, many years ago. And that's still helpful because it's getting the word out there. The Master is not egotistical in the sense of like, this is my information. It's like, it's for the world, it's for humanity, for those who really want to elevate and, live a better life, transform themselves. So it doesn't matter when people buy our stuff, the word still gets out. We just ask that you give reverence and respect Just like when you write a book, a dissertation or whatever, you would quote and reference the source where you get the information from. Some people don't do that. They just pretend it's theirs. But then when you start to probe and ask for more information regarding that topic, they can't go any further. So it's clear where the source is, and that's Pana Babyanun. All right, let's keep going. Zen Maxwell, thoughts on Earth being stationary and people in secret organizations making sacrifices for the gods underneath. Question is not clear. The Earth is not when you say stationary, are you saying the Earth is not moving? Everything moves in terms of everything vibrates. There are secret organizations making sacrifices for their what they call gods. That's why the word God doesn't really mean much, because who is the God that you're actually talking about? People that go to the Bohemian Grove and they worship the owl and they make sacrifices to Moloch, and you know they appease these disagreeable beings. Yeah, there are lots of people, even in many religions, that do rituals, like they pour libations and they do blood sacrifices or animal sacrifices, or you know, using a lock of hair and all these things that they do to appease their gods. But who's the gods behind them? Because the word God is so loosely used that people will say the word God and not realizing people are serving different gods. And these are these different types of extraterrestrials that are agreeable and disagreeable. So who is the God that you're really worshipping and talking about? Let's peel the covers off, because that's what we do. We say the whole God game has to stop, because they give you this picture that God knows everything, he can do everything, and then we start to say, all right, let's put him to the test, and then he can't. You see, so you have to be very clear which God you're sacrificing to. And why would you need to sacrifice anything to a God if a God has no needs? If a God has everything and knows everything and created everything, what could you possibly offer God if he already created the whole world? This is why we say Wu-Sabat demystifies things for you in a way that, like I said, you're waking up and using your own mind, as they say. Wake up and smell the coffee.
God as in Yahuwah, the Most High.
It's just what I'm saying. That doesn't mean anything. It sounds great when you say Yahuwah. We break it down. What does Yahuwah mean? It just literally means he who is who he is. And Yahuwah becomes Jehovah, you see. And what was our last part?
God as in Yahuwah, the Most High.
Yeah, the Most High. That doesn't even make sense, because like we say, the words you use will tell you that that God can't be the Most High, because who is he measuring against? Because when you say high, there's high and there's low. And to say highest, you have to say, you know, like we say big, bigger, biggest, yeah, or small, smaller, smallest. Like, in order to say he's the Most High, he has to have other gods to compare to be the Most High. But that's a mistranslation from the word Anu in the Greek. And that's referring to Anu of the Sumerian. That's who's referred to as the Most High. It's a translation of Anu. And that's the Sumerian deity. But that Sumerian deity is not the Most High of all cultures and other people. You see, just like in India, they will have their Most High. You know, you go to, you know, the Buddhists, they'll have their Most High. The Masons will have their Most High. You know, Christians will have their Most High. The Muslims have their Most High, who is going to be Allah, Theos, you know what I mean? Depending on what language, what culture you're coming from. So, yeah, high to you, but not high to us. And our Most High is the one that has the highest knowledge, the highest information, and knows the way. And that's Pana Babyanun. So, yeah, the word still doesn't mean that because you say the Most High, you're using English. We can still break that down. Okay, somebody was helping to answer the question. Oh, that's our good brother, Usir in the house, Rahubat Zamal. Yeah, he was just answering the question. It's not the whole planet. I appreciate what this is. let's keep going. How do we contact OSM? You're contacting us right now. Join our Telegram group. We post every day on there. We have, just click the links on the website and you'll find us. We are the most accessible people because we're live every Tuesday. We have lives on Saturdays where you can come live, ask questions. We post throughout the week. You can comment in the comment section, join the Telegram group. We are all on there. We answer questions every day. So we're very accessible. All right. Let's keep going. I don't know. Is that a question? Azen Maxwell, you can see what star constellations you come from with just numerology readings. It depends who's doing the reading and how accurate are they and how much of numerology they know, because, there's different methods. We use solar biology, not lunar astronomy. So there's different sciences. There's always the adverse, like I said, what people term good and bad, or agreeable and disagreeable, positive, negative, and there are different beings aligned to each side. This is what creates the confusion, and the good be, or shall I say, making devilishness or evil fair seeming. Then people are confused. People don't know who to go to, where to go to. But Wu-Sabat is the answer, and that's why we're here. So to clear up the confusion, the technology, and we are the replacement of the false information, because we're living in a day and time where they teach you in all religions, when the truth comes, false things have to go. They have to perish. Religion is dead. And if you don't believe us, try use Wu-Sabat and try and use religion against Wu-Sabat. You see that Wu-Sabat is on a different and higher level. Yeah, and it's not even about, it's not an egotistical thing. It's facts are facts. Truth is truth. And if you're under that, we're all one. Like anyone who teaches truth, we're together. You teach falseness, we're going to correct it. We're going to point it out so that people know the truth. People want to know the truth, or they don't. It's either one or the other. If you want to stay in ignorance and, racial blindness, under the spell of Leviathan, the spell of Kingu, if you want to stay asleep, keep pretending, you didn't take the blue pill or the red pill. There's so many ways we can express this. You either regaining your Christ consciousness, you're shifting your mind, you're waking up, the awakening, the ascension, your third eye is opening. All of these are metaphors for, are you ready to elevate in truth, or are you not? If you're not, fair enough. You stay down there, because mortals will die, God survives. All right, so let's keep going. Terry Jamal in the house, Rahubat. Yeah, Rahubat Sakan, Terry Jamal here. Good to see from the scroll Master Secret Lotus of Life. Master Teacher talks about being who die before their appointed time, inhabit other bodies. Yeah, this is what Wu-Sabat is here to do, to help you so that you don't cause yourself to be unalived way before you've achieved your purpose or before your time. Because we now know, scientists know, that you have something called telomeres at the end of your chromosomes that basically are able to extend your life or shorten your life based on the things you do. So when you're doing things that are not conducive for your well-being, and that could be the intake of intoxicants, wrong things like, fluoride, caffeine, smoking, drinking, in terms of alcohol and, drugs and many things, you're not sleeping, you're not resting, you're not aware of how your body works, how your organs work. You're not able to clean yourself inside out. You're taking in a lot of metals, there's so many diseases you don't know about. The science of like an alkaline diet over, an acidic one. These are all things that you're supposed to learn to master yourself. First of all, before anything else, you need to know who you are and what you need to do to live your life and not shorten it by way of your telomeres. You see, so Wu-Sabat is that has the answers, but you have to do the work. You have to read, you have to study. It's like anybody can tell you that to be healthy you should exercise, but you have to do the exercise. Someone else can't do the exercise for you. The same with the spiritual practices. So you're right, that master secret, the Lotus of Life by Parnabab Yanun on the sacred feminine, is really teaching everyone but the sacred feminine, because they are the mothers of everyone on the planet, and they've also been misguided by the spell of religion for 6,000 years, but it has come to an end now. So this is the rise of the sacred feminine. And on that, I actually want to take time out to thank people like, I'm not going to expose you, I'm keeping it anonymous, but Jackie, Lorraine, Valerie, and many sisters who, Monique, many sisters who are helping, and they're waking up, because it is your time. You've been suppressed for far too long, and we're here to kind of help you to remember and activate, and that you can take your rightful place as the goddess. But we work hand in hand. So that scroll is both for male and female. But the sacred feminine is a being that is recognizing their divinity and is able to now return back to who they really are after being suppressed by monotheistic religions that dealt with the patriarch as opposed to the matriarch. So we now, by way of Power Nabab Yanun, is giving us back our stuff back. And one of the first things is for the sacred feminine to get back in their rightful place. And we're here to, assist in any way we can, because we both need each other. Right brain, left brain, they have to work together. All right. So yeah, you're right, Terry Jamal. That scroll is really talking about showing you how not to shorten your life by the practices of wrong information and wrong knowledge. Okay, let's go to Babylon done outside the box. Okay, anytime I ask a question about contact information and I am asked to come to a class, I feel some type of way. It's suspect. You're overthinking, and that's your emotion. You're getting emotional. I mean, you want to contact us, right? We're telling you the best way to contact us. You can use info@osmvision.co.uk. That's an email address. If you want to email us, you can do that. But we're giving you the ways that you can contact us much more quickly. So when we say, you said, anytime I ask a question about contact information and I'm asked to come to class, I feel some type of way. Why do you feel a way? How else are you going to contact us? We have our websites, we have email addresses, we have telephone numbers on there. We have classes where you can ask us questions live. You can speak to people as opposed to just using social media. We have a Telegram group where you can interact. So how else do you want to contact us? Why? I don't understand why you feel some type of way. Coming to class is actually a good thing because you get to interact with other people and learn more. Why is this suspect? I don't understand. I think you're being a little bit presumptuous. A online, Rahul Bat. A online sound is low. It's not low. It might be your device. Sometimes people say that, but it's their device. Because how do we know? If that was the case, a lot of people will be saying the sound is low. But since it's just you saying it, look into your device, all right? You may just have to turn up your volume. Rahubat, my good brother, if you had something to accomplish and you were not, all right, this is referring to a question in the chat. You were not able to, you can accomplish it through your blood lineage. You can live as a host for up to 9 years. That's true. Okay, let's go to the next question. Thotmus Kyoto. I was placed on a table in the middle of what seemed to be a ship with blue and red light glowing dimly, equally divided in half, and they were about to conduct an experiment on my head. That's a story that is shared a lot about abductees, people that are abducted, and a lot of the times that's when Greys abduct people because they're trying to find certain things like why or what makes humans tick. So yeah, when they abduct people, some of them they do operations on, and sometimes people remember these abductions and because not everyone is able to be put under anesthetic. Yeah, that's correct. Where they put you to sleep or you can't remember or you don't feel anything before they operate on you. And some people remember their ordeal, and when they come back, they relay this information through regression, or they draw pictures of the beings and the place they were in and so forth. And then when they compare this to people around the world that have never met each other, this is how they come to the fact of it's conclusive evidence that, you know what I mean? How is it possible for people, different time zones, different cultures, different languages, different parts of the world, to all draw exactly the same thing that they saw? So yeah, that description is one that is known a lot by people that are abducted. But obviously everyone's experience or personal experience is your personal experience, and we kind of don't go into explaining people's like personal experience because it's for them, including things like, you know, dreams. That's how you know Wu-Sabat is real, because the amount of people that ask us, I had this dream, what was it about? You know, in the world where people are lying to you, they will tell you anything and charge you for it, you know. Not saying that everyone is the same, because you do have some honest people that have some gifts, but the majority of people are faking the funk. Okay, that is still asking, I would like to know who they are. Like I said, it depends on what they look like and what you saw. Stanley Kelly, does a discovery of new planet in our solar system make Malachi York and Zechariah Sitchin correct about Nibiru? No, it's not. When you say with Malachi, it's not just a discovery. It's like there's so much information. Like, he teaches on every subject and breaks down information for everyone, no matter what level you are at, and has been doing so from the 60s up until today and still doing so. It's a body of work. It's not just one thing. That's why we say, why are there no other people that have put themselves, you know, on the front line to be questioned on everything, about everything like he has? And when you're questioned and you don't only answer the question, but you author books and put out publications which can be scrutinized by anybody on the planet, and the information stands for itself, you know. So yeah, it's not just based on, you know, a planet. It's based on, he goes into the beginning of the universes. So yeah, so it's, you know, Zechariah Sitchin, the only reason even he is even significant is because the master teacher giving out the information he was giving out way before, you know what I mean, like the Anunnaki stories became popular, and the only other person at the time that was writing on the Anunnaki was Zechariah Sitchin, because obviously he's a Jewish guy, and Mukasu or Caucasian or European. The master was like, when people hear it, because everything he was teaching, people were like, prove it. Where did you get it from? Scrutinizing everything he did, including his entire personal life, which they don't do to anybody else. He was like, If you guys need to hear it from a Caucasian or somebody else, go and check out the books by Zecharia Sitchin. And he was writing on the Anunnaki, you know, Genesis Revisited, many books that he published, just to say, like, you think I'm crazy, but there are other people. But he also said at the time that there's going to come a time where you're not going to be able to go out and, Zamal, it's happened again. You're not going to be able to go out and check out this information with anybody else, because I'm going to go beyond what everybody else can go to, because I'm a visitor. I come from a planet that is light years ahead of you guys. I'm only here because I've been sent here to reform and basically raise you up and guide you so that you don't get caught up in the calamities of the planet, Tauta. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he only gave you references of different people like that were talking about these things, because many people, many people doubt. They're doubting Thomases. But even though everything he has ever taught collaborates, nothing has changed. He's just clarified it more and more, making it more clear as we go along, because he was always walking us backwards, like I said, from the youngest religion being Islam of 1400 years old, going backwards to, you know, Christianity in terms of the New Testament, to, you know, the life and times of Jesus 2,000 years ago, then going back to the Torah of the Abrahamic religions, going back 4,000 years ago or so, and then tying that into where they got that from, which ties into the Sumerian tablets, the Anunnaki stories of, you know what I mean, like the Enuma Elish, the Gilgamesh epics, the Atrahasis, the tablets of Atana, the you know, epics of Gilgamesh, the Akkadian tablets, and then going further back to the ancient Egyptian pre-dynastic. Yeah, so he was teaching us, so past Egyptology, past what people know as Kemet and all of that, going back to Napata, going back to Meroe, going back to the Nile Valley, going beyond and saying, right, these beings come from these beings known as the Pataites, then going back further to who they are in terms of their descendancy from the Natharu, who are separate from the Anunnaki, who were the ones that seeded this planet first, and then taking us now into the heavens, into this, in what people call the skies, or going into Orion and Sirius, and going to their origins, and then going even further to the birth of the universe and the birth of the other universes, because many scientists today are trying to figure out the birth of this one universe, our universe. But at the same time, they will tell you about the multiverse, and they will say they're theorizing it, because everything is a theory to them. Back to the word theos, right? A theory. When they don't know, when you don't know something, you say, you know, it's a theory until you have the evidence and facts that you know. But you're not going to know if you weren't there in the beginning, right? Because these Adamites only go back 6,000 years. But scientists have found fossils and dug up bodies and going to ancient Egypt that are going back millions of years. The pyramids, they say 10,500 years. We know they're much, much older. So what happens is, when you're saying, I come from a time that's light years ahead of you, 76 trillion years of information that I have to give you guys 24,000 years of, right? No one's going to be able to follow him. You can try. You can't even deal with his students, much less the master teacher, Pana Babyanun. So when people try and talk about people like Zecharia Sitchin and this one, those guys were only given to you as points of references because you're doubting Thomas. But those of us who study diligently, we take it way, way back. That's why we're here. We're here to make everything clear, because the master teacher has done so and taught us. Okay, let's see what else we got. Sonny Fro. How does Wu-Sabat deal with addiction to nicotine? We deal with it by stopping. And there are many ways you can stop. The first and most powerful way is your willpower. You have willpower. That's what everyone says, right? You know, your eyes were open to know good from evil, and you have willpower. So you have to will to stop, first of all. Now, most people say they want to stop, but they haven't actually reached a point where they really want to stop. Because either their ancestors is riding them, right? Meaning it's not you, it's a force that is controlling you. And even though you want to stop, you don't recognize that you have an ancestor that is the one influencing you, persuading you to feed them through utilizing your vessel. So first of all, it comes from a mental and a spiritual realm. Most of the things you can't control on the physical is because you have to first of all deal with them from the mental and from the spiritual. Once you do that, and you're like, the benefits outweigh, you know, the pleasures, the desire of something. Like if you think to yourself, if I stop, I'm going to be more spiritual in terms of elevating my growth. I want to be able to tap into my higher powers. You know, with everything, there has to be the need or the benefits. Why are you doing it? Once you establish that, then you can use practical terms and practical means. Things like eating green apples, as simple as that is. There's pectin in the apple, and pectin is good for dealing with addiction. So if you think about it, every time you felt like taking nicotine in, I don't know if you're smoking cigarettes or how you're getting it in, if you replace that with eating an apple instead, every time you feel like a cigarette, you eat the apple. One, the apple is healthy, and it's gonna help you with the craving because of the pectin in the apple. That's just one example. And then you have to obviously start to replace it with positive habits. You know, like if you, like some people will say they want to stop smoking or deal with that addiction, and then they will start to take alcohol, which is not really the solution, because you've just swapped one addiction for another. So you have to replace it with, say, okay, every time I feel like smoking a cigarette, I'm going to exercise, do 10 press-ups, 20 press-ups, or challenge yourself to do more press-ups than you can, or another form of exercise. I'm just saying this is how you reprogram your mind, because that's why we recommend to read the mind, because you have grooves that cause, when you have an addiction, what it is that you create these grooves. The grooves are like, if you remember the vinyl records, they have grooves in them with information recorded on them. So what happens is, every time you don't overcome that thought or that influence to do something disagreeable or negative, what happens is you're connecting a pathway by way of your synapses, right? And the neurons that communicate between these synapses, that's what happens. You create a groove, and it actually becomes something very hard to get rid of. So what you have to do is replace those grooves. Because they're there, they could be there for years. So someone could be, you hear people say all the time, I've stopped for like a year or 2 years and I went back. Because what happened is you didn't remember that there are other personalities within your matrix that are just there waiting for you to reawaken them. And it just takes that one time that you fall or give into it, and then they're back on top, you know. So we teach you about how you suppress the voices, how you suppress the disagreeable ancestors, and lean to the positive ones and ask them to help you. And then you can obviously overcome any addiction with the power of your mind and your willpower, all right? I hope that helps you. That's for Sonny Fro. Okay, let's keep going. Life is a blessing. Is destiny, how are we doing on Zoom? I mean, TikTok.
Got a few now.
Okay, let's take those. Do you have them?
Yes.
Because I'll have to try and find them.
What is Yakub connection with Halal and Enki, also Murdoch?
The connection is really by way of the Pleiades, the Pleiadians, because remember that Jacob, although he thinks his idea was original, it wasn't actually original. It was the Pleiadians were tapping into his brain, because remember that he's a big-headed scientist because he had two brains, and they were able to tap into his brain and transmit what we call like telepathically, or sending messages to him to give him that idea of creating this he wanted to be God, and to let everyone who was teasing him, who ridiculed him, he was going to create a being and then destroy them to let them know that he was God. So that's the link. What was the second part of that? There was another, maybe I missed the part.
What is the connection with Ha and Enki and also Murdoch?
So when you say Hey Lao is the disagreeable being that, in religion people call the devil and so forth. And when you're looking at this, what people calling the devil, is really going into these disagreeable beings that we're talking about, who influenced or created the disagreeable side of what we call the Anakim, or these beings that came to Earth. Now, how it then ties in is the Anunnaki, because when you look at Enki and Enlil, these are the gods of your Bible and your Quran, and obviously the two brothers were at war. We have a scroll which you should really get called Conflicts Between the Gods, right? And that's where the whole kind of religion thing comes from, where you had the two brothers, and those who followed Enki, right, in the Bible, they're all referred to, with the names like end with Jah, like Adonijah, Elijah, etc. And then those who followed Enlil end with El. So when you see the L's, like your Raphaels, etc., that's aligning with Enlil. And then when it comes down to the planet, the beings on the planet, everyone is, by way of whether you follow these religions, you're going to align with those beings, those Anunnaki beings. So they create competitions and they create this division, and it's all to harness and farm humans for food, or to harness the energy that the competition and the chaos creates. Now, remember that Murdoch was chosen as the grandson of Anu to basically come and defeat, and because remember Hey Lao goes back to Tarnush, and those are just different titles or names for the devil. So when you're saying the Luciferians, or those beings are Nakim that are here on the planet, or the disagreeable Anunnaki, they're the ones that have basically enslaved people for 6,000 years. But then you had Murdoch, who was actually recalibrated to basically come and break the spell and teach people of the truth. And so that's how they all kind of link in. All right, you said there were other questions? No?
There's a lot.
Oh, is there any ones that you want to pick out? If not, I'll carry on with the...
People just say like, this is a cult, leave, this is a cult.
Okay.
How do you feel about Malachi exploiting his people through forced labor?
Yeah, that's all hearsay and all like, you know what I mean? Like people say stuff and they have no experience or no information unless it's been passed down from people that were not even around or don't really know him. So, the internet and social media is great at that. People can say all kinds of things about people without really knowing the person. And there's nowhere where you get forced labor. Like people that actually worked on the land or came to work, they did it out of their heart and volunteered. There was no like you're forced. The land didn't even have a gate. Anyone can walk in and out. Of course, there was security, just like you can't walk into a government building or any other building without someone at the door to see like, okay, let's check your bags to see if you're carrying a bomb or whatever. So security is necessary to protect the women and to protect the children and to protect everyone. So and this information of people saying something, if you start to put them on the spot and say, all right, were you there? Provide the evidence, because we were. And you put them on the spot and you realize it's Chinese whispers, it's hearsay, no facts behind it. Even the case, there's so many holes in the case. And all I want to say to all you people that want to say it's a cult, you don't even know what the word cult is. What is a cult? Because when you say cult, you're going by some definition or something you've heard, right? And all the cults are normally, unfortunately, they're mainly Christian-based, Christian organizations. If you want to talk about Heaven's Gate or David Koresh or any sort of what you're considering a cult, that's not us. What is a cult? Like I just said, a cult, if you want to use those terms, right, Heaven's Gate and all these terms that people are familiar with, there was no one in Tamaray or on our land held against their will. They could go and come as they like, or they could leave anytime. There was no mass murdering or suicide or anything like that. These are all Christian groups that have done this. So why is that though? Because the doctrine of Christianity teaches you that it's okay for someone to come and die and sacrifice themselves. So people say Jesus was a willing sacrifice, meaning that he died on the cross to save people. So suicide bombers or religions that teach that you're going to go to Jannah, as they say in Islam, they will say like they're going to be a martyr because they're going to do the works of their God, which is like so contradictory to say that God is powerful or Allah is powerful. He can do anything, he can snap his fingers. But yet you feel as a mortal that you have to put a bomb on yourself and blow up buildings and blow up innocent people and say Allah is the greatest or Allahu Akbar so that you can go to heaven and have maidens and virgins and stuff like that. Come on, this is ridiculous. There's nothing you can say about a cult that you can tie it to Wu-Sabat or the Nuwapians other than hearsay and nonsense. So, you know, people that I do feel sorry for you, because all you have to do is do some research, get the actual facts. And I'm looking forward to when Pops comes out, when the Master Teacher comes out, and let's see what all you doubters and people have to say. And the word cult, as it relates to us, is culture. Add the T-U-R-E at the end of it, yeah? Because a culture, when you practice your own culture and not follow like the status quo or the mainstream, if you have your own dress code, your own language, your own food, your own dance and your own stuff, you're going to be referred to as a culture, because that's what a culture is. So, you know, we laugh for people like that. We have been going since 1962 and still here and still open to anybody scrutinizing us, coming to our classes, asking us any questions. What are cults are things like the religious organizations, because they all believe and follow one book. And if you don't follow that, you're treated as a heathen or an infidel. And, you know what I'm saying? It's like, how can you say, you know, you look at organizations like maybe even, you know, like the police force or the fire brigades or, you know, any institution that has, you know, like a following that they do certain things and have to wear uniforms and do things the same. That is a cult. The army, you know, there's many examples I can give you. So it's just ignorance when people try to put that on us. It doesn't wash. But anyway, giving that too much airplay and attention, but it is important because they fool innocent people who don't know the facts, and sometimes people start to be doubtful because they get influenced by these disagreeable six ether forces that come on our platforms to try and dissuade other people. If you don't accept what we teach and you don't think it's for you, leave. Go and practice whatever you think is the way, and we won't miss you. We're here for people that really want the facts, actual facts, and they're willing to do the work for themselves. All right, let's move on. Pharaoh Halo, which bones of the three Jesuses our master teacher talks of does the shrine hold? Which shrine? But you can find out in the Trinity. There's a scroll called the Trinity, or even more pertinent will be the degree of Christism. In there, he talks about all three of them. The one that was, buried in Kashmir in India, and then it was removed. There was one in the Vatican, and then it was removed. But yeah, you'll get more information in the degree of Christism for that one. All right. But again, you weren't very clear in terms of the shrine. You just said, does the shrine hold? Let's keep going. Rahubat, I just want to know about the 12 elders. Who are they and where are they now and what is their duty? That's from Julia. Do you have a reference? Are you referring to our Master Secrets called the 24 Elders? It would be helpful to give us the reference of where you're getting that from. Because if it is, then we're talking about you have 12 elders that are female and you have 12 elders that are male, making up the 24 elders. But yeah, I need to know if you can just, Julia, if you can just give a little bit more information where you're getting that, what's the source or the reference for what you're asking. And yeah, if it's referring to what I just said, we have a master secret called the 24 elders that will go into more information on that particular topic. What happens to people in the afterlife that commit suicide? Do they lose their soul and spirit? Yes, again, the scroll called the spiritual you after the physical you dies, and even the 24 elders that I've just mentioned, and many other scrolls go into that. But yes, that's one of the gravest things to do, which is to unalive yourself by way of committing suicide. And yes, you will come back and you will have to experience and go through from the eyes or the perspective or the lives of those people that you impacted by doing that. And then you have to repeat the cycles as well. So do they lose their soul and spirit? It all depends on the circumstance. Some come back, and it all depends if they repent, not in the way of like religion, but if they were sincere and really regretful or sorry for what they did. The elders, they can actually make a decision to see if they can change their course of life by way of, you have me stones, which are crystals that all your deeds and actions and intentions are recorded on. So they will be able to like read these discs. They have the technology and the equipment to be able to like, for lack of a better word, erase parts of that time continuum and place you on a different time continuum. So you would carry on with your life and not even realize that it has been done, and that will help you to circumvent, repeating the mistakes. But more details is available in the scrolls I've mentioned, all right? Okay, people are speaking with Michael, who's answering questions. Great student teacher as well. SH, how does Wu-Sabat address interactional relationships between black and white individuals? I mean, those questions are so broad and vague. Like, what do you mean, how do we address them? I mean, it's between the two people, right? They decided to come together, maybe in love or whatever, and that's what they choose. Obviously, we prefer and promote not to have interracial relationships because it's about keeping the bloodline and the keeping the genes and the genetics, etc., as pure as possible. And we do know from, you know what I mean, just like people who are caught up between two worlds, how it can affect them. Because sometimes they have to choose one or the other, or they get pulled in different directions and so on and so forth. So we don't really interfere or get into people's sexual activities or sexual lives. And if they're together already and they have maybe children and they're happy, that's their decision. Everyone has to live with the consequences of their decisions. So it's very broad. We're not judgmental like that in terms of judging people. So again, when you say how we address it, what is there to address? That's for you, SH. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but you have to be a bit more specific. Maria, I'm reading actual fact number 17, emotional energy. Line 6. Mutation refers to a wobble of the axis of rotation. Can you simplify more? Yeah, sure. I'm thinking it's responsible for wave motion vibrations. Am I correct? The easiest way to simplify mutation is that most people are familiar with the planet Earth on an orbit around the sun, right? Rotating around the sun. And so what they don't recognize or realize is that even though the Earth is orbiting the sun, it's also wobbling. It's like if I remember those things called tops, where you can hold it, spin it on a table, and it will be spinning. And as it's spinning, it's wobbling. So imagine a top. Imagine the planet Earth being the top. You spin it, it's wobbling, like, and that's the mutation. And then at the same time as it's wobbling, it's still rotating in its wobbling around the sun. That's what we're referring to when we say the mutation, okay? But mutation can go even further when you're talking about the rate of the mutation. So you have mutational rates that govern the different realms, you see. So the different realms lock on a mutational rate, which is why you can kind of like remain the same. Meaning, like, if you think about how you're held together, with G-force, you can actually be pulled apart, right? So you're held together, say, with the magnetic pull of the atom, because at the center of the atom, you have clusters of energy. Even though these clusters are depicted when you look at, say, a diagram, where you may see like a nucleus with an electron and a proton, and the electron is outside. Like, that's, again, to give you a visual representation, because when you go into how are these held together is the attraction and contraction, right? Or we say pulling, the pulling forces, yeah? So it's the energy or the nutational rate that's holding things at that specific vibration at different realms. So you are able to be in different realms, dimensions even, but still basically maintain the form you are on this physical as well as on the other realms at the same time. So when people say in science that two people cannot occupy the same space, for example, that's not actually fully accurate, because you can if you're on different vibrations or nutational rates. I hope that helps you, yeah? That's from Maria. Great that you're reading actual facts, because that's what it is about, reading the scrolls, and then you have more intelligent questions based on what you're reading, or if you get stuck and need any clarification, we are here to do that as student teachers of the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, Panda Babyanun. Stanley Kelly, was Kish of Mesopotamia the Kush Cush of the Bible. I'm just seeing, it looks like Michael may have answered it. Yeah, it's the names is like, even when you say Cush, that goes back to Kish. Oh, you did say, yeah, Kish, yeah, Mesopotamia, because names over the different languages, like you say, become Cush, Cush, just like when we say Ham in English, it's like it really comes from Chem or Cham, yeah, where they get the word Chemet from. But we know that these were also people. So when you're saying Cush, for example, you're talking about the father of Nimrod or Nimare, who's also known as Sargon. And depending on the language and the culture, the names can get mixed up. This is what's happening now with the poor translations of the Bible and the Quran, for example, where like you will go from Arabic now being the youngest, like you say Isa, and they will tell you Isa is who is Jesus in the Bible. So then you get Isa, Jesus, then you go backwards. Remember, I did it before when you're walking backwards into Wu-Sabat. So Arabic, Isa, then Iusos, or you go to Jesus in the Greek, then from that, because the J doesn't exist in the Hebrew, it becomes a Y, so you go to Yahshua. And so many people don't have the proper language or the translation, so you see people say Yahishua, Yahshua, and the word Joshua. This is all the renditions of the word from the Hebrew, Yahshua. But then you go into, like, I don't know, before that, going into like the Torah, you will get Yahweh. You start to go back, you'll get in Egyptian, they will say that person is really Horus, from Haru or Hiru or Harar, Ha, and then we go back into the Sumerian, you start to hear Tammuz, but it's the same person, different names, different translations, all right? So it's the same thing, yeah. Stanley, let's move on. Yellow Woman, good evening. What if nothing happens in 2032? Did the master teacher tell you about this? What if the world just stays the same and goes on? Are more people going to have the opportunity to? Again, this is misinformation, mistranslation, misquotation. We have not said, right, that, I don't know, people are coming with this, the world's ending in 2032. This is not just coming from us. Go and read the news and do some research. And the master teacher has said many things over the years. So has other people. And the difference is a lot of, like, say, the Jehovah's Witness that predicted the end of the world and all these types of things that never happened. People just pay a blind eye to and move on. But the master teacher, everything he has ever said has come true and has happened. It may not happen in the way you know, or like you may not know it happened. For example, when he was talking about crafts coming in 2003, people was like, it didn't happen, but they didn't know that it did happen, where crafts came, right? The movie, the Fourth Kind went into this. It did happen in Alaska, and the Anunnaki did come and they did take people and still taking people, and the people are being farmed till today. So you have to be in the know. You have to be able to interpret things. And if you go back and read everything he has ever published and said, like he was writing books like The Year 2000 and What to Expect, the Millennium Book, the Luciferian Conspiracy, Leviathan 666. These are books that, go back and read them, Man from Planet Risk, and see the things that he said. They've all come to pass. So we know the being, and we know that he's only ever been able to teach the truth and nothing but the truth. You see, so you say what will happen? Some people don't want it to happen, but you ask yourself the question, what if it does happen? Then what? What if the world just stays the same and goes on? And again, when you say the world, people's vision of what they call the world is the world just the planet? Because planets are destroyed all the time. So doesn't mean the world doesn't exist. There are other planets, other life forms on other planets, other galaxies. So, like, when you said the world, do you mean the Earth, or do you mean a part of the Earth, or do you mean your city? Because cities are being destroyed by fires and tornadoes and all kinds of stuff, even now as we speak. So, are more people going to have the opportunity to transcend? This is what I'm saying. It depends on who the people you're talking about, what they're doing. We teach Wu-Sabat, and we know what Wu-Sabat teaches in terms of ascension and how you transcend and what you do to transcend. We are not going to be speaking for other people. Like, people in religion, they don't even have answers for these questions, you know. So ask us what we teach and what we teach about, and we give you the facts based on the one who knows. Truth is truth. It's still saying the sound is low. Again, I think that's your device. Is the show, this is A11 even, is the show The Man Who Fell to Earth based on Dr. Malachi York? Very, very interesting question. It's a great show, and it's not, I mean, when you watch it, you get the feel like that, because a lot of shows, a lot of films, a lot of things have been written from his information or influenced by his information. So many things you read and see now on TV, Discovery Channel and many channels are based on things he taught many, many years ago. And there are more things he's going to teach that others haven't even touched on. So I watched that and I thought I was laughing, because we see these movies and we see through what they do in terms of where they get the information from. But as usual, things do get distorted. The sensationalism aspect is added because it is entertainment in the way they present it, and they want obviously more people to watch it and view it and so on. So they do mix truth with falsehood. Okay, any other question? April Road. Second by woman being first, what is her name? Now, when I said women, not a woman. But even then, the first woman would be a woman. Sakhamtat would be her name, if you want to use that. But when you get to a certain point, remember when we say woman and man, that's really dealing with gender. And that's really dealing with the physical aspect of a being based on the chromosomes, like XX makes a female, XY makes a male, right? So it's not just one, it's more than one, is them. And that's going back to those original Ptahite beings that evolved from the water. But initially, the beings that were first were what people would consider hermaphrodite and hermaphrodites, meaning that they had both sexual organs and the ability to resonate on a double frequency. You can read more about that in, I think it's Actual Fact, Existence, How and Why. If you haven't got hold of that, that's a great scroll. There are others. Join our Telegram group if you haven't done so already, because we'll post the links and the books in case I may misquote a book or refer to a book thinking it's one other scroll, but it may not be so. Join the Telegram group. But yes, we have to go to those beings that we're talking about and deal with the reality that people don't want to admit to, is that women were first. Women were able to reproduce by themselves because they had the ability to secrete fluids, just like we provide the semen, right? When you say semen, you're really saying the semen. These tadpole-looking entities that obviously go and, meet with the ovum, with the woman, to produce offspring. So they were able to do that with a process known as parthenogenesis, by way of their baffling gland, right? You can do research on these things because, again, this is something the master was first. When he was teaching that women were here first, women were reproducing by themselves without men. Back in the day, people were like, this is crazy. When he was teaching about extraterrestrials, people were saying it was crazy. When he was teaching that he's from a planet Risk that has 3 suns, a tri-solar system, people were saying that he was crazy. See, all of these things with time, the 3-parent birth, he was teaching this, and he was explaining that, you know, the 3-parent birth, i.e. the Immaculate Conception, all these things that they were teaching in religion like it was a miracle, like, oh, Mary was a virgin and she had not touched a man and she had a child by herself. Okay, scientifically, this is what we're talking about when you're able to impregnate yourself. And even till today, when you look at the clitoris of a woman, that is a tiny or miniature penis that secretes liquids. And if you imagine that previously, to be able to secrete fluids and impregnate herself, there is actually a live woman, documented woman, who gave birth to twins. You can find that in our actual fact. I think it's in the Lotus of Life, by Parna Babylon on the Sacred Feminine. It's in is God male or female, which is an actual fact. Seek out these scrolls, read them, study them, research, go on Google, speak to other people, that scientists, that people that know these things, because we are basically able to give information, and like the master said, and the scriptures say, you know, you'll be able to dumbfound the wise, you know, because they don't know these things. It's not about going to universities and how many degrees you've got and all of that. It's like this information is available to everyone. As long as you can read and write, you can listen, you can watch videos, and you can be triggered and activated by way of your DNA and your genetics. So it levels the playing field. This truth is for everyone, you see. So yeah, so that's the first woman. Let's keep going. Is anything on TikTok? Are you part of the Freemasonry? Yeah. That's such a broad question. Which Freemasonry? What is Freemasonry? Like, people ask questions and it's like, it's just so open. I'm free. I'm a man. I build. Nothing is real but energy. Energy is harvested. Trap is believing. Okay, sounds nice. Anyone can make any statement, and that's great. But there's no question. And if you wanna, yeah, we know that everything is energy. But even energy, there are different levels of energy, and we obviously go into more detail. But there has to be a question that is sound. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah, want to big up Michael answering questions. Our brother Osir doing great works, also helping to answer questions. He's a student teacher also of the master teacher. Mullah Monet AG. Is sabbatic related to Gaiz, or was it called Gaiz, but the real name is sabbatic? It's the other way round. And we have a scroll called Parlahej Wu Shalel Wakut, yeah, the language of time, that goes into great detail and explains to you the language, how it came here. It was imported here, right? And beings like spoke this language on Mars and different parts of the galaxy, and it was transported or transplanted here. And there's a lot of people get caught up on the Ethiopian stuff because it ties back to the Queen of Sheba, where the word you can hear it phonetically, Sheba, Saba, to deal with really describing these gates or the gates that beings came through to come here. Okay, so Sabah or Sabaat or Sahat, as we say, Orion and Sirius, that's where the language was imported from. And then other scripts and other languages come from that. I don't actually have my language scroll on me today, but look at that and study that. If you don't have it, get hold of it, and it will show you how, you know, all the languages came from that. And sabbatic, some people tie Sabians to like those beings from like Yemen and dealing with more like the beings from the Ottoman Empire and all of that. So as usual, there's always the distortion where when we talk about who we are, there's always going to be someone that claims to be the opposite or say that we are not who we are and it's them. But look at the genetics, look at the origins, look at the, like, who was here first and what did they speak, what language did they speak, and then others that came afterwards trying to claim it, you know. So yeah, so you're right, but it was the other way around. All right, let's keep going. Yellow Woman, really want to hear the answer about interracial relationship. Earlier question by SH. Being mixed myself, I've always wondered where I belong, even though I have kids now and I am fully grown woman. I mean, you know, because it's in your DNA, and you choose where you belong. Like, you gravitate to one side or the other, but it depends on how you're looking at yourself. Are you breaking yourself down in terms of your physical being, genetics, or are you breaking yourself down in terms of your higher being and energetic, and like you align with what resonates with you most? And if Wu-Sabat is what's resonating with you, then you have to live Wu-Sabat and put it into practice, and it will help you. Like I said, like in this day and time, it's actually more than the skin suit, because at the finishing line, we all leave the skin suit behind anyway. So you got to think about the other parts of you that help you to travel to the other realms, and you know what I'm saying, and how far you can go based on how you've developed the inner being, the real you see, and your spirit and your soul. These are what's really important. When you say you wonder where you belong, everyone belongs in Wu-Sabat, because it's for everyone that would actually, I mean, as far as you can go, because, you know, if it's in your DNA, if it's in your genetics, if it's your call in terms of your ancestors, some can only go so far. But at the end of the day, you're going to go further than anything else on the planet that's going to help you in any way you look at it, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever method you're using to measure what you're calling, you know, success. If you apply Wu-Sabat, you find out that nothing else compares, honestly. Our master teacher is going to laugh at those who doubt him. Absolutely, Pharaoh, hello. We laugh already because we already know what it is. All right, let's keep going. How are we doing for time? Wow, 3 minutes left. So if you haven't asked your question, get it in. And if we don't get to your question, we can always answer it in the Telegram group. And or next week, same time, same place, we'll be live. Or Saturday, tune into one of the classes. Oh, thank you for clarifying, Pharaoh. Yeah, the mystic shrine, the Shriners I was talking about. Yeah, yeah, you're right. The secrets were protected by them and by way of, you know, the whole, you know, the it just escaped me. The what are they called again? The you know, by way of France and to Egypt. The names just escaped me. Okay, Curtis, hit me up, man. You know what we've been talking about. I don't want excuses. Like I said, we got to build, and like the way we're doing that is through our 100 project. We're rebuilding. We've got to free the master and rebuild the communities, rebuild Tamaray, rebuild a lot of communities. So, you know, we need the help, and those who can help with our project, contact us and let us know how you can help us. What did he say? It's me, Curtis. I had another dream of our master teacher. He had a craft, this time underneath the Great Pyramid. I'm not crazy. I know it's real. Now, we know crazy is, you know, is subjective. Some people think I'm crazy, but the master says you're amongst good company, because it's ironic that the ones that think you're crazy are the ones that are really crazy. But, you know, crazy is very subjective. Like you said, they'll leave you alone if they think you are. But we know you're not. Atum re kemet rahuba musa wur ashuk nakuk arod kum kawes bu ashuk harardum lahepa nabab mulmad. All right, someone there really learning and speaking the language. Marine B, your take on 3, we covered that already. It's not our take. Like, when people say your take, that deals with opinions. You know, Wu-Sabat and what we're taught by way of the master teacher is based on actual facts. It's based on, you know what I mean, things that you can check out, research to the best of your ability. How do you become a member? Triple, that's probably the best question I've heard today. Go to our website, any of our websites, hit join us, and then we will be in touch and contact us. It depends where you are as well in the world, because we need to know what's the closest community or bookstore to you. Okay, we've come to the end for today. Any newcomers, join the Telegram group and we will point you in the right direction. We've got a few questions that we didn't answer, but unfortunately we ran out of time. We want to say Tawukum Wesar. Thank you all, family, and keep studying, keep the meditations, keep the chanting up, visualization of the master teacher Partner Babyanun coming home. Donate and give a free will offering. Go to the website unitedsabiansworldwide.com. Search how can I help and do your best. All right, appreciate, love you all. Until next time. And those on TikTok too, thanks for joining us, thanks for being with us. Keep tuning in, it's your journey, and don't let anyone deter you from making your journey home. All right, Tawukum Wasar Wadu.